kid Emily would not be here? That's true. Because it's Mother's Day and I wanted to do something special, I've never done this before, but I wanted to invite my mom to come and talk with me this morning. So, we told everybody what mic she was using, but this is my mom, Kathie's story. No offense to any of the other moms, but I got the best. So I just wanted her to come out. We're in this series right now called Labels, no, it's not. I don't know why we keep saying that. It's called Branded. It's up there. If I could read, I went to Canton. Forgive me. That's the best I can do with what I got. We've been in this series called Branded. The series has been about all these labels and all these brands that people put on us. And there are certain things that we take with us, even as children. When we get labeled or branded, we carry those things with us through our whole lives. And what I've been trying to communicate through the series is it doesn't matter what you've been branded. What matters is what God says you are and what God has to say about you and who you are really in Him. And when we can do that, man, we can stand secure. No matter what you've done and no matter how bad you've messed it up, do you guys find that it's really hard to shake those labels? Like of your past, like who I used to be compared to who I am now, and maybe somebody hasn't seen you in a long time, and they just assume you're always going to be and always have been the same person you always were, and you're carrying those labels around, and it gets frustrating doing that. So what I've been trying to communicate in this series is that we don't have to carry those brands. We don't have to carry those labels. We are stamped from the inside out. We are children of the Most High God. Amen. And it's important that you realize that. It's important that you understand that. And today, the theme I want to talk about today is some of the brands we take, you may be taking on for things you've done and messed up in being a mom. I'm going to talk specifically to moms, but to parents too. You know, how many of you guys knew what you were doing when you had your kid? Had it all like under control. You read all everything you want to know about giving birth, what to expect when you're expecting, then how to be a parent. And I've seen preachers and teachers talk about parenting and being a mom and being a father, and I've seen them talk about it from the perfection view. How many of you are perfect parents? What? Other than Celia, everybody in here said they were. She may be a perfect parent, but she's not a perfect wife.
Close to being a perfect wife.
We don't know what we're doing, and I'm not going to pretend that we do. So what I really wanted my mom to be here for is because she did it right, and it still went wrong. And so I wanted to encourage you. I'm here to encourage you today that if you do everything right, it still doesn't guarantee that it's going to work out right, that it's still not going to become right. You know what I'm saying? How many parents in here have adult children in here? It doesn't all, just because you do things right doesn't mean it comes out right. The baker's perfect example. No. You just never know how it's going to turn out. But there are things that you can do, and there are things that you have to understand as a parent that I think will help you to deal with some of the labels: failure, bad mom, giving up, throwing in the towel. Labels that get put on us, and shake those labels and start to stand in the confidence of who you are and who you're created to be. My mom's parents were in ministry, and she kind of grew up in a weird environment. They took off and went and followed God with that. So just tell them a little bit about, your life growing up. It's
Okay. I'm loud. Justice gets that from me. Anyway, so we may not need this. But you got to realize how much I remember about all of this because mostly I heard a lot of stories because when my parents sold our farm and see, I told you don't bring the mom up.
They were hillbillies. Real life hillbillies, like they own their own mountain.
Well, we had 5 acres on top of a mountain, at a hill, maybe you'd call that. Not exactly.
Mount Olive rules.
That's right.
They made their own rules up on the mountain.
Yeah. And I was 4 years old. And I don't remember a lot about that, but I remember that house. And I remember that my grandparents lived really close and we just were over there all the time. And then we weren't. And I loved traveling. We sold the farm and bought a 37-foot trailer, a new car, and a big tent. And, when you're 4 and 5 and you see a big tent, you think circus. And that's about what it was. 2 families had never done this before, stepped out on faith, and for 3.5 years, they followed God. And when I say followed God, I don't mean, they had an income coming in and they were rolling because they had sold the farm. I'm talking, they invested every penny into the tent, the chairs. Oh yeah, we had sound system. Thanks. We had a sound system to buy. They had guitars. My mom said she didn't have any talent. All she did was take care of us 3 kids and the other preacher's child while they all played music, sang, and she raised children. And we did that, moving every 6 weeks from one place to another. And always on an invitation from the local church. And it did not matter what denomination invited us. It was the Spirit of God led. We went to Assembly of God churches, and they put us up in the middle of whoever's hayfield was cut that time of the year. We only traveled in 3 or 4 states. We went through Tennessee, through Kentucky, through Missouri, Kansas, down to Texas. And when we came to Texas, we stayed 8 weeks, I was told, because the Spirit of God did not move. And I thought, so the Spirit of God just stays in one place. And I found out that the Spirit of God doesn't stay in one place, but He stays with each person that is in a surrendered life. Because we stayed in this place, actually in DeKalb, Big Woods is where we stayed. I should not say DeKalb.
It's not on the map.
Well, no, but you can get there.
It's Big Woods. You just know where it's at.
Yeah.
You got to know where it's at to get there.
And we stayed, but the other family that followed God went back to Tennessee, and I thought that was strange that God could be in 2 places at once. And that's when I really realized God is with us. No matter where we are.
So they gave, your parents instilled in the way they grew up was a life of faith. And what you...
No check next week.
Yeah, I mean, faith by like, I hope we get to eat faith.
Yeah.
Right? And when that, we were talking yesterday about how how we hand down certain things. You become the product of your two parents, and then you become that product, and then you marry, and then your kids become the product of you and someone else, and you keep handing those things down, and a lot of times those can be good things or those can be bad things. I mean, and the greatness of God is that in any one of those things, you can change it. If you're handing down legacy that's not good, that comes from not good legacy, you can change that. God loves you individually. And I really want you to understand that no matter how things have been, it's not how they always have to be. And no matter if you've got kids today and you think, well, it's too late for them or whatever, it's not too late. God does some pretty cool things with some pretty unlikely characters.
After 30.
After 30. It's not a law, but it should be. I don't know what happens when you turn 30. You like wake up and go, oh my gosh, this is my life.
Can I just say something right here, though? It took him to 30. It took me to 13. You don't have to wait.
That's right. Yeah, and you don't, just because you were jacked up don't mean your kids have to be.
That's right.
That's what I keep praying.
I was saved. I wasn't perfect. That wasn't what I intended to me, it to me.
No, I want you to understand, what I wanted to talk about how she grew up is because in our home, that foundation was laid in our home. Now, what that meant to me as a kid was that every stinking Sunday morning and every Sunday night and every Galilean and every Wednesday night and every time some youth was going to have a marshmallow cook, I had to be at the church.
Yeah, 10-day revivals.
Yes, and revivals. And revival may mean something good to you, but it meant something not good to me. It meant more church. And so I didn't understand. But the thing was, and here's something else, through our teenage years, like we were good kids. We were in church. Those were people we were around. But when you become a certain age, man, you sprout your peacock feathers, right? I mean, you want to fly. And so like we grew up, and me and my brothers, we began to drift. And one of the things I need you to understand is, though, our home didn't drift. My mom, I know you had to want to give up.
I did, like, almost every weekend. I would just, every Sunday, I would be like, surrender them to the Lord, and He will guide them. Every Saturday night, I was like, you didn't do it? Forget it. I give up. I tried. You didn't do it. It had to be you. Couldn't have been me.
But I think that was the thing, was the consistency in our home. Like, God was always the center of our home. And even in the rebellion, we went through, it was always that consistency. And I have to tell you, what we did, but the rules didn't change. The consequences to the rules never changed. Now, did we break them? Well, yeah. We broke them. And we knew when we broke them, we were going to deal with it. And you guys who went to school with, you knew they dealt with us. But then she became the story boy's mom. And that's a label that, sorry about that one. That's his, because my brothers.
Ask Mammy.
My brothers and me, we kind of threw back and rebelled, and that's what I wanted to encourage you. That didn't come. I didn't have a rebellious family. My mom and dad weren't rebellious people. And so.
No, but my sister was.
We'll blame it on her. She's not here, and she'll probably listen to this now and know. But, the thing is, as we were going through and as we were rebelling, one thing that my parents instilled in us was honor. And even when you're in rebellion, My dad was in law enforcement for like 78 years.
It felt like that.
And my parents, if I got in trouble at school, I got in trouble at home. My parents never, ever took my side. They always took the side of the authority. If I had a coach that I didn't get along with, guess who was right and guess who was wrong? It didn't matter in my life. I didn't get to rebel. I didn't get to be anti-cop. The cops are out to get me. My dad was one, and they were always right, and I was always wrong. You know, it didn't matter if I was right, because I knew I was.
Well, the law doesn't change
It should
just
have.
because you're a cop's kid
No, it doesn't.
or a preacher's kid.
They know each other. Everybody watches, don't they, Justice? Everybody knows what Justice's car looks like, right?
It takes a village.
We'll have pictures of it on the screen next week. Make sure you all know. Eyes everywhere.
That's a good thing and a bad thing.
Yes, it is. And the thing is, after all of that, as we were going through all that, and I'm sure all of the things were going on, but what happened then is as we began to grow, we messed up and we failed at certain things, and our lives got way off track, but theirs didn't. They stayed that course, and they stayed hard after God. They stayed just firm in that path and set. And man, I'm telling you, I don't know how, because we fought them. Like, you ever had to fight your kids to go to church? Not here, but I mean at other places. Man, I fought. I was like, I don't want to say this out loud, because Justin, go away. No, I knew how to play the game, and man, I knew what buttons to push to make them miserable. And so what I would do is make it as hard as I could, because there was always that hope that Sunday mom would say, fine, we're just not going. I'm not dealing with this anymore.
I said it many times, but I was usually in the shower by myself getting ready to go.
And when she got out, we went to church anyway, and it didn't matter. So we had that consistency, and we were taught these values, and so those are the things that I believe with all of my heart. The Bible says that if you bring up your children in the ways of God, that when they're old, they won't depart from that. Now, that is a proverb. A lot of people are like, well, that's a law. God said it, it's a law. Actually, Solomon said it, and it's a proverb. That means that this is the way he has observed life to be as a universal truth. And what that does is says this is more likely to be. Now, if you lead your kids one way, there's always a chance they can turn and go back. Everything's not set in stone. Everyone has a personal encounter with God, okay? So if you haven't brought your children up in the ways of God, it doesn't matter. It's not too late. You haven't messed it up. They're not beyond repair. You're not beyond that label or carrying that brand. But if we stick and we stay strong and we look at our lives and we look and see, are we following God? Am I staying the course? Is my relationship with God on track? Or am I letting my kids dictate? Are my kids ruling my spiritual life? Are they moving me from here to there? And what I saw in my life is no matter what we did, their spiritual life stayed on track. Well, what happened was when we got older and we began to intensify our mistakes, then to a point of self-destruction, then I think that's when I believe both of my brothers would say the same thing, is like we did our own things, but at that point in our lives, and my older brother, he crashed harder than I did, like because he could mess up, man. Y'all went to school with him, you already know that, and it's no secret to him, so I can say that.
But he's a really good Christian man now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he don't carry that label anymore either, but he could really mess up, and he hit hard, I hit hard, but when we did, we knew where life was. We had the examples of a mother. And you read in the Bible, when Paul's talking to Timothy, he's talking about his mother and his grandmother, and he's talking about their influence and their influence on him. And they know, he knows by example where life is found. And so I think to encourage you that it's not too late, that you're not too messed up, that you haven't, look, nobody has it down yet. Today is the first day I've raised my kids at their age they are right now. Okay, I don't know. I watch, I learn, I have example. I think Mom was talking about this last night. They didn't have books about parenting. How old were you when you had Keith?
16, almost 17. He was born on 9 days after our first anniversary.
So when your 15-year-old says, I'm in love with a Marine, and comes home and says, I'm getting married
2 months.
That's shocking, and I look, we're not by any way encouraging that either.
No. Justice, no.
Hey, but when you got a 15-year-old, it sounds good. Like, I mean, you just know what I mean. Like, if you got a 15-year-old, you already know. You're like, that's not really bad sounding. The thing my grandfather told my dad is, you take her, you don't bring her back. Like,
and you raise her wrong.
Yeah,
finishing raising her.
Yeah, you're raising them. Anyway, but Mom was, she got married and had us. So, like, the only example of parenting you had was what your parents had done.
My dad.
And we were different breed than they were.
Yes.
As far as kids go. And so
they were stories.
There's a lot of blame flying out of here.
No, I didn't want this to start sounding like you think there's a halo over my head, because I had everything going for me. I had a loving home. My parents weren't fussing at me. I
Fussing,
could do pretty
that's a
much.
hillbilly word.
I will go hillbilly on you easy. It's a good thing.
Yins, that's what my grandmother
But,
said.
I knew from an early age what love was and how deep it went. And I had a couple other boyfriends before this one, but in my heart I knew that wasn't what God wanted for me. But I knew he had the same solid roots that I had. And that's the thing about that I do want Justice to know, and other kids to know, is when you are dating somebody, you want to date somebody that you might want to marry, because when I dated him the first time, I certainly wasn't intending to marry him. And you don't know what God has for you. But if you pray first and you seek God, then you find somebody that has the same values. If somebody says, I don't care about that, I don't care about God, I don't care about, you can marry them, and sometimes really it works out wonderfully, but you will make your life harder.
There's a better way to live.
Somebody said that. I heard a sermon somewhere.
I stole it from Jesus.
Yeah.
Can you steal from Jesus?
Not right.
Yeah, but
I
it's
think you go to hell for that.
no. There's plenty of
Borrowed it. There you go. I just wanted to encourage you guys today. Look, Mom says she was no angel, but
No.
she don't know. She is.
Ask Paul. Charlie will
She's never
tell
done
you.
anything wrong in her whole life.
That's just not true. But just like I don't know everything he did,
You don't want to know.
I do not. He doesn't know everything I did. He told me this morning that he was going to ask me, what was the worst sin you ever committed? And my mouth flew open at first because I thought, he's not really going to ask me that. And then I thought,
Now I want to know.
murder. Because in my heart, there were many days that I wanted to murder my children. Yeah.
No. I don't know. I don't believe that.
No, yeah.
I've never been in that place.
Okay. But what I just don't get the idea that, oh, our home was perfect. Look, Charles worked 2 or 3 jobs all the time. He was gone a lot. I had 3 boys in every sport you can think of, on 3 different teams. And I was not the only influence in their life, and I was not going to be the only influence in their life. And I had to trust God with them early. Trust teachers with them. Trust coaches with them. And I wanted people to like them. Sometimes it worked. And if you have a rebellious spirit and you teach your children by example to not honor teachers, coaches, authority, law, police officers, not that they're all honorable, even teach them to honor adults, grandparents, other children's parents, because honor and teaching them that, and teaching them that God is always present. He doesn't hide from you. You hide from him. And when you are going to try to do right, people that don't like right will run from you. Let them go.
That's good. I mean, that's, you see, that's the biggest thing is a rebellious, if you got to look at yourself. If you have a rebellious spirit, you can't figure out why your kids rebel against you. I mean, you teach them everything. I mean, they pick up everything from you. And so we really need to examine our lives. One of the things I want to encourage you with today, and I know it's Mother's Day, and we got to beat those other churches to lunch.
That's right.
Mother's Day. But the one thing I really want you to understand is you have to be the best you can possibly be. And what that means is it's not about performance. It's about understanding who you are in God and dealing with the things that are in you. And what I've seen as a parent and growing up, and what I see, the best things that are in me are things I got from my parents. And the best things I see in them are things out of my grandparents. I see both of my grandparents in my mom. I see both of my other grandparents in my dad. I see both of my parents' traits in me, and the best parts of me come from those things. And so what I want you to say is you have to realize the amount of influence you have. I doubt if even maybe until today, Mom may not understand the total influence, the amount of influence, even through good times, bad times, screaming, yelling, you know, I hate you, you know, and you've been there, right? Like, this is church, we can't lie. So the thing is, well, not that much. The thing is that through all of that, man, you got to stay and be who. You got to see who you are in God. See what He's made you, the way He shaped you, and start to understand that you are the one influencing, you are the one dictating. Your rebellious spirits, your habits, your things are all being passed down, good and bad. And God has created you into a new creation. He loves you. He's drawing you out of death into life. And so you can take that life and start to influence. Now, I can't do anything about yesterday, and you can't either. Okay? But you can start today and do something about tomorrow. Your kids may be in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s. They may have families of their own, but I'm telling you this, I'm 40, how old am I? 43 years, 43, thank you, Eric. I'm 43 years old, and my mom and dad are still the greatest, strongest influences in my life.
Still, he doesn't listen to us. So, there's
I
that.
listen. I just know better. Still.
I tell you,
That's a sign that you're definitely still not mature enough when you still think you know more than your parents.
the trusting God thing, we found out a long time ago, we could not be the answer to his prayers. You know,
Yeah, you
God
can't,
leads him.
I want to say that you can't control your kids. You can try, but you're not going to control them. I mean, unless you lock them in a room, I don't think you can do that, like legally. You know, like, maybe, I don't know.
They will get out.
But
eventually.
sooner or later, you're out of control. Those kids are, I was not their kid, I was God's kid. Your kids are yours to steward, to influence, to have, but your child belongs to God. And what mom and dad did was they allowed us to destroy ourselves. Not that they tried to help, they tried to speak into our lives. But when you're ignoring that, and you won't hear that, and you won't, then you're on a path and it's set. But the thing is that God is bigger than all of that. And when you are able to sincerely give your children to God and pray and pray that and allow God, I think a lot of times we step in and prevent God because we'll alter the circumstance. Our kids will get in a circumstance and we'll fix it, and maybe we're working against God, and God's going to use that very circumstance to transform them, to change them, to get hold of them. And so I want to encourage you that stand strong, draw closer to God. When things slip and when things go bad, don't try to grab hold harder. Don't try to control more and get stronger. That's when you get more with God. You walk deeper in a deeper relationship. You have to have more trust and more faith at those times when your kids are not going the right direction. Look, I never saw myself being here, and I don't think anyone in my life ever did. I mean, I think I overshot, as I did with most things. When it went bad, it went over bad. And when it went transformed, I got oversaved. You know? and there's this personality thing, maybe. But I was probably the least likely candidate. You know, I know my older brother was. So. It just, when you look and you say, "Wow, they're beyond hope." Well, no one is beyond hope. No one. And listen, you may be the prodigal, the wayward child here today. You're not beyond hope. God's never going to give up on you. He's never going to let you go. He's already claimed your identity. He's just waiting for you to figure out who that is. Whether you're the child, whether you're the parent, whether you're the grandparent, you still got to understand that it's your identity that God has claimed you as his own child. And he's given you stewardship responsibilities to kids, now to grandkids.
It never ends. There's no vacation from parenting. As much as you would like one, and you can take a few days, but your mind is always be on your child.
God's bigger than any mistakes we can make, and that's what I've found out. In my own life, in parenting my kids, and seeing the things my parents did, I have living examples all around me. And so I encourage you to look to those examples, but also become those examples. You know, we have a dual purpose. We're all children, and we become parents, and so then you become grandparents, and so you're always receiving and you're always giving. And we need to receive from the right influences. We need to give in those right ways. And guys, I really hope, my prayer today is that you'll understand, first of all, a lot of where my passion and drive comes from my mom, and it's influence on my grandparents too, on her and the way we grew up, the way she grew up, that influences the way we grow up, that influences the way my kids grow up. And I want you to see that. I want you to see that this is the person that I'm always talking about on stage. And I also want you to be encouraged today that maybe you feel like, man, you're the parent of wayward child, or you've messed it up and it's too late. It's never too late. God's bigger than all of that. You can change. Your children can change. Your life can always, because of God, has the potential to be the life you've always dreamed of. But it requires you to stop the patterns, and it requires you to make the decisions and make the choices and take the stands, because you can't control them, you can control you. At our worst times, all Mom could do was what she could do for her. And she wore out Bibles. From about 1984 to 1988, dude, you could have got her a Bible for every birthday, anniversary, and Christmas. She'd wear it out because she needed a lot of help. But you can draw from God, and you can change you, and that's what I want to encourage you of today. I hope you're encouraged. I hope you leave here today seeing yourself as an influence on your kids, on the people around you, and I think, don't you guys agree that like Ma, she has influence on all the kids in the church? She's like everybody's Ma, right? She's the driven life grandma.
Great, thanks.
So if you need any money, go see her. No, I'm just what you always do with the grandparents, right?
Justice already taken care of that.
All right, thanks, Mom. I love you. Happy Mother's Day.
Love was not for me till the night I met that girl named Tennessee.